we're back. Part 3 here of the continuing Why Is This So Important to Us? I'm Ashton.
And I'm Whitney.
And welcome to another episode here of Questing Onward, where we talk about our life, share snippets of the things we love, and occasionally talk about some of our nerdy passions and things we enjoy. This is part 3. For those of you who haven't, you might want to go back and get part 1 or 2. You're just probably going to be lost here. But we're just going to skip announcements and hop right on into this because, again, we have a 10-minute timer and we want to see if we can get this as much as we can in this. So we were last time, for a recap real quick, we were talking about, we got to the point kind of in our relationship where we had this very difficult moment and we decided like passionately, like we were, no matter what, we're going to make this thing work. Even though we had people like
raising concerns.
We had,
personal things between us
that were difficult, but we were like, we're gonna make this thing work. No matter what we have to do, we're gonna make it work. So yeah, go ahead and kick us off from, I guess, that moment. And I agree, as you stated before, it was like, it truthfully is something that we have clung on to over the years. So yeah, pick us up there.
Okay. So like I said previously on episode 2, this was something we were either going to break up or we were going to get married. We decided we were going to get married. We were going to do everything in our power to make it work through communication, parenting, whatever that looked like, we were going to make it work. And I think that's laid the foundation for later on years. After we were married, we found out that we were pregnant about 6 weeks after we got married, and we were completely broke. I was not ready to have kids, so this kind of wrecked me a little bit. I wasn't in a good mental health space.
Yeah, I distinctly remember this moment. It's so, like, I think back on it now and it's like so iconic to just like the way we were at the time. But like, yin yang polar opposites here. It was like we were taking this pregnancy test. I told Whitney, I was like, I've got to be here for it, because Whitney's like, yeah, I just didn't take my birth control.
I missed a few days
to like a week and a half is what it actually was. And I was like, Whitney, you can't just not take that shit. It's fine. It was hard for my parents, so it'll be, probably hard for us. I'm like, that's not how this works, but sure. Yeah, like it could go that way.
Go back to sex education. Revisit that.
But sure. Yeah, I guess we'll visit that. And so we took a pregnancy test, and I remember, like, for me, I was like, I want to be a dad. Again, this is like my life's calling. Like, that's like my mantle I've wanted to be as a dad my whole life. And I remember we looked at that test, and it was so funny because I distinctly remember looking at the test. Here's Whitney, and her head goes down, and then here's me, and my head goes up. I literally did. I gave her the biggest hug. She's bawling, and I truthfully, with one hand behind her head and like fist bumping in the air, I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you. Like, I was so excited to be a dad. But like, that opened up a whole new can of like communication issues.
Financial burden.
Yeah.
That was, where are we going to live?
Well,
we got to finish school. We don't have health insurance. Ashton was working at a car wash at the time.
No, that's like right. Just got back from my first summer doing summer sales.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then I went, at that point in time, I didn't have a job when we found out. I was just going through, because I remember in my interview process for T-Mobile, I was like, I just found out I've got a baby on the way. And I remember being like so grateful I got the job because I had insurance, like healthcare benefits, right? Or I was going to if I was able to get full time, which I was like, I have to work in full time for it.
So, and I was working at a concession stand at the college that I was attending. So it was, we were so broke. We were beyond broke.
Like, let me put it in perspective of how bad it was. Like, there was a time where I distinctly remember we had to sit down and budget out how many wipes Whitney could use per diaper change, because we had to cut costs somewhere. And like, we didn't have it, we couldn't cut anywhere else. Like, we were living on basically nothing. And so it was like, all right, per diaper, you have like X amount of, I don't remember what the number was, 2 wipes, for example. Like, we literally had to divide the cost by the number of wipes, and then the wipes by the number of diaper changes. Like, that's how hard it was. Like, it was not easy. Like, it was very difficult.
It was so bad. So, and I think that kind of launches us into our next communication. Finances is something that we hear over and over again, how finances is one of the leading causes of divorce in our day and age. And I can definitely see why. When we were so broke, this was something that it was obviously like a struggle for us and our family.
Yeah.
And there was a time where I was overspending and we had to have a really hard conversation about finances.
Yeah.
And it was kind of devastating, honestly.
It was heavy.
It was a very heavy conversation. And I remember Ashton sitting me down and we had a talk about the severity of it, of long-term consequences, of the sacredness of providing for and sacrificing for your family. And this was something that it was such a hard conversation. And I remember, emotionally, I was very distressed, which you can't, just because someone is in distress, you can't stop that conversation.
Yeah.
And I think you need to let those people feel those emotions and have that not grieving, but just that turmoil, the weight, severity.
So I think this is important to note, because I think that oftentimes people may misunderstand what we're saying here. Did you feel like during that conversation at any point in time I wasn't loving you?
No.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I knew that you loved me, but I knew that you were expecting me to become better.
Yeah.
And I think that it was that period of growth that is never comfortable.
Yeah.
And those conversations are always difficult.
Yeah. And I think a big part of it too is like when these conversations come up, they have to come out from a place of love.
Yes.
Right? Like this wasn't like like what the hell are you doing? Like
Scolding.
How dare you like blow up? Like none of that. Was no scolding, nothing. It was just like, hey, this is really important and I love you, but like we've got to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think that's really important, because I think oftentimes that's the problem, is people are into like this, almost like this fighting, complaining, this, screaming, yelling, bitching, moaning type of mentality. And like, it just can't be that. Like it can't be that at all. It has to come from a place of love. It has to come from a place of concern. But like, ultimately you love this person, like, and like it needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Right.
And I think during those times, it's very easy to let your emotions become the thing that leads the conversation. And I remember in that conversation, it was very emotional, but Ashton, he put aside his own emotions to focus on what I was feeling, but also in like a very guided way.
Yeah.
We still needed to find a resolution. We still needed to have a plan of action, but he was still very respectful, very loving, very understanding of what I was feeling. And I really remember appreciating that. And that was something that I had not developed that skill yet. And so it's something that I've been working towards, that kind of communication, for the last couple of years as well.
Yeah. Well, it's something that's hard, right? It's so hard to like at times like strip away your own like frustrations and emotions. Like it would have been really easy for me to just like listen, because it wasn't like this was the first conversation.
Like you.
Yeah, and this wasn't also the first conversation, right? Like we had talked about this a handful of times before, and so it was like it would be really easy. Like we've talked about this, you know how important it is. Like how dare you? Like that's the easier way, but it takes a lot of like self-control, and obviously. I think going back to that concept of that marriage advice we originally got of 99% give, 1% take, right? Like it's my responsibility as your husband to like at that point in time give, and like it'd be real easy to take at that moment, but like it's my job to give. It's my job to, obviously stand for what's right and what we need to do, but like out of a place of love and concern, nothing more, right? Mm-hmm. And so yeah, that was like a really hard time in our life, the financial era of like having no money. But eventually we were able to work through that, obviously, and get to a better place. But I don't know, what other things do you feel like during that time of our life has kind of shaped us into the communicators, or like I guess overall like our passion for this? Is there any other moments you can think of?
We kind of already discussed after we had Eliza, our first daughter, we discussed a little bit about you and helping me with the hobbies. I think that was a big one, which part of that was I had to have hobbies on a budget. It wasn't going out and getting my nails done or getting my eyelashes done or hair done. It was something that was going to work for our finances and our level where we were at. But I think there's been just so many things over the years, whether it's, frustrations with friends and family, whether it's work. I think that's a big one, as well as Ashton. He does summer sales currently, and it's something that I never thought that in my life I would be married to someone that would do door-to-door sales. Yeah. I did not see my life panning out that way. I definitely was expecting a 9-to-5 job, husband home on the weekends. Yeah. Really, really standard. That was something that my dad did, and I didn't really look outside of that.
And that's, I think, opened up a whole other, different level of communication we've had to communicate through. We see a lot of our friends in this space struggle with it, like immensely, because it's not easy. Like,
No.
for those of you know, it's a very grueling schedule. Last year, there was like, I think, 4 or 5 months that I only got to see the kids literally 3 days. And so, I don't know. But yeah, that's, I think, overall, like, our story. We'd love, if you guys have any questions about us, like, let us know. I mean, we'd love to answer any other ones or do some future ones. But I think hopefully that gives you guys an insight of to why communication is so important to us.
And I don't think it'd be a bad thing either to maybe do one more part of this and talk about summer sales and
Yeah, we
that sort of communication. I think that'd be a good one. So
well, we'll hop on in and get another one of these
more.
knocked out. It should be the final, maybe not though. So appreciate you guys. Thanks.